I never believed the mountains could hold a grudge, but after what happened last fall, I'm starting to think they can. I spent 7 days lost in the Sawtooth Range of Idaho. I survived freezing nights, dehydration, and sheer exhaustion. But what haunts me isn't what happened up there. It's what came back with me. It started as a solo backpacking trip. I needed the solitude. After a rough breakup and quitting my job, I figured a week alone in nature might reset something inside me. I've done hikes before, but never anything this remote. No cell service, no people for miles, just the endless pines and snow-dusted ridges of Idaho's backcountry. On day 3, I veered off the main trail, chasing what I thought was a shortcut over a ridge. The sun was dipping low, and fog crept in fast. Before I knew it, the trail had vanished. I tried retracing my steps, but every direction looked the same. That's when the dread set in. The cold settled deep in my bones. I set up camp that night beneath a tree, ate a protein bar, and tried to ignore the faint snapping of branches just outside the range of my headlamp. Days passed. My food ran low. I drank from streams and melted snow. I shouted for help, blew my emergency whistle until my lips bled. I should have been scared of wolves or bears. But what I feared most was the feeling of being watched. Every night, the sounds grew stranger. Footsteps that stopped when I held my breath. Low, deliberate breathing inches beyond the nylon of my tent. I never unzipped it. I don't know why. Maybe I didn't want to see what was out there. On day 6, I woke to find something arranged outside my tent. Stones stacked in a neat spiral. Twigs bound together with what looked like deer sinew or hair. I hadn't seen a soul in days. I hadn't seen footprints. But this wasn't natural. That day I ran. I didn't care where. I just ran until my legs gave out. A rescue team found me the next day. They'd picked up a weak emergency beacon signal, one I never managed to activate. They said I was lucky, that people lost out there don't usually make it. I wanted to believe them. But when I got home, things didn't feel right. My apartment started smelling like pine and wet earth. I'd wake up with dirt under my fingernails. One night, I found a stone spiral on my living room rug, identical to the one outside my tent. I live on the 3rd floor. No balcony, no pets, no explanation. Whatever I saw or felt out there, it followed me. It waits. Every night, it gets a little closer. And sometimes when I close my eyes, I swear I'm back in the woods again. Lost. Alone. Not alone. Lena adjusted the straps on her pack and exhaled into the crisp Oregon air. She was deep in the Siskiyou National Forest, hiking solo for the first time. She'd always dreamed of getting off the grid for a week. No cell service, no distractions, just her, a good tent, and the sound of the wind whispering through Douglas firs. By late afternoon on the 3rd day, she veered off the main trail, curious about a faint footpath she'd spotted cutting through underbrush. It was marked by weathered red tape hanging limply from a tree branch, faded and tattered, clearly old, possibly forgotten. Her instincts told her not to follow it, but curiosity won. It always did. The deeper she walked, the stranger it felt. The woods here were quieter, too quiet. Even the chirps of chickadees and buzz of flies had faded. The air smelled metallic. Lena assumed it was just decaying vegetation, but something about it made her stomach twist. After another 10 minutes, she stumbled into a small clearing. At its center sat a collapsed wooden structure, maybe an old trapper's shack. The moss-covered beams had rotted through, and the roof had long since caved in. The stench hit her then, thick and putrid, like rotting meat soaked in damp earth. It was overwhelming. She gagged, pulling her shirt up over her nose. Curiosity gnawed at her. She edged toward the ruin. Flies swarmed, rising in angry clouds. In the corner, half covered in leaves and debris, was a shape. At first, she thought it was a deer carcass, but then she saw the hand. Human. Lena stumbled back, heart thudding against her ribs. She fumbled for her phone, but as expected, no service. She should have turned and run right then. But something kept her rooted, something else, because beyond the stench and the rot, she caught a faint sound, like heavy breathing, coming from the woods. Close, too close. She backed away from the ruined cabin, slowly, every leaf crunch beneath her boots sounding like a gunshot. The breathing was steady, low, like something trying not to be heard. Her heart pounded in rhythm with her footsteps as she turned, keeping her eyes on the tree. Then it stopped. No breathing, no sound at all, just wind hissing gently through branches. Lena didn't hesitate now. She turned and sprinted, branches snagging her sleeves, deadfall catching at her boots. She didn't care. She ran until her lungs burned, until her thighs screamed. She didn't stop until the shack was a memory, and even the red tape trail was lost to the woods behind her. She bent over, gasping for breath, and that's when she saw it. Another piece of red tape, fresh this time, untattered clean. It was tied tight to a sapling, the ends barely fluttering. This one wasn't old. Someone had marked this recently. That scent, the coppery, sickly sweet smell, was back. Panic set in. Her eyes darted between the trees. Nothing, but she could feel it. A presence, watching, moving with her. She picked a direction and ran again, hoping to loop back toward the main trail, or at least to find higher ground. She climbed a ridge, breath ragged, and from the top, she finally saw the river, silver like a ribbon cutting through the trees. Relief. If she could follow it downstream, she might make it back to the ranger station. Then something moved. Across the ridge. Not an animal. Tall. Human-shaped. But wrong. Gaunt. Its head tilted far too far to one side, like its neck had been broken long ago. It didn't move like a person. It glided, silent, despite the fallen leaves. Lena froze. It was watching her. Then it stepped behind a tree. Gone. The sun dipped low behind the trees as Lena scrambled down the slope toward the river. She didn't look back. She didn't dare. Whatever she had seen on the ridge was no ordinary person, and it wasn't trying to help. She reached the riverbank just as the last of the sunlight vanished, turning the water black and glassy. Her breath fogged in the air. It had gotten colder fast. She followed the river, stumbling on slick stones and tripping over roots. Her flashlight cast jittery shadows on the trees, distorting every shape. Every snap of a twig behind her made her flinch. It wasn't just paranoia. Something was trailing her, never too close but never far. She caught glimpses again, movement in her periphery, branches swaying where there was no wind, the glint of eyes reflecting her beam. Once she saw a hand, long fingers curling around a trunk, then vanishing. She couldn't go on much longer. Her legs burned, and her pack dragged her down like an anchor. She stopped at a bend in the river, forcing herself to stay calm. Then she heard it. Footsteps. Deliberate. Crunch. Pause. Crunch. From behind. Lena turned slowly, flashlight trembling in her grip. Nothing. Then suddenly breathing. Loud. Wet right behind her ear. She screamed and swung the light wildly. The beam caught a flash of movement. Gray skin, sunken eyes, lips peeled back in an unnatural grin. She bolted downriver, not caring if she fell. Branches whipped her face. Her boots hit wet rocks. She fell hard once, knee first, but scrambled up, blood seeping through her pants. Then she saw it, a bridge. An old service bridge, maybe 20 yards ahead. And just beyond it, a small ranger station cabin with a weak orange glow in the window. She didn't look back. Didn't stop until her fist slammed the cabin door, sobbing, screaming. A ranger opened it, confused and alarmed. Behind her, the woods were still, but the stench lingered. Noah had been alone in the backcountry of northern Wyoming for 4 days when he stumbled on something not marked on his map. A narrow trail running perpendicular to his route. lined with jagged rocks and thin trees that bent inward unnaturally, as if leaning to whisper secrets to one another. He wasn't worried. He had food, gear, and years of solo trekking experience. He chalked it up to a logging path and moved on. But that night, while camped near a glacial lake, something odd happened. At first it was just a sound, faint, high-pitched. He thought it might be wind slicing through deadfall. Then it came again. A whistle, not like someone casually blowing air. This was precise, deliberate, for short notes. He froze, a cup of coffee halfway to his lips. The fire crackled, casting flickering shadows around the campsite. He scanned the darkness, eyes adjusting. "Hello," he called out. "You all right out there?" Silence. He waited 5 long minutes, then shrugged it off. Maybe some other hiker messing around. Or an animal. Sound carried weirdly out here. But just before he turned in for the night, he heard it again. For short notes. Exactly the same. And this time, it was closer. He stood slowly, the firelight illuminating the edge of the woods. That trail he saw earlier, it was less than a mile back. Something about it tugged at him. Even now, he got no sleep. Every time he drifted off, he thought he heard the whistle again, faint, distant, but slowly closing in. By morning, something in him had changed. He felt watched, not by a person, but by the forest itself. By midday, the sky had turned a dull pewter. Clouds stacked heavy and low. Noah moved faster than usual, eager to find a new site before nightfall. The last one didn't feel safe anymore. As he descended into a ravine, the terrain shifted. The trees here were older, gnarled. Moss clung to their trunks like skin on bone. He noticed something odd about the silence. It wasn't just quiet. It was empty. No birds, no bugs. Even the wind seemed to avoid this place. Then he heard it again. The whistle. Only this time, it came from ahead of him. For notes. Same pitch. Same rhythm. He froze. That didn't make sense. If someone was following him, how did they get in front? He slowly unshouldered his pack, pulling out his knife. His voice cracked when he called out, "I don't want trouble. I'm just passing through." Silence. Then a new sound, barely audible at first. Breathing, but wrong. Hollow. Wet. It came from the trees, just off the trail. He stepped back, ready to run. Then it stepped into view. At first, it looked like a man. Tall, thin, dressed in what might have once been hiking gear. Long rotted and clinging to a skeletal frame. But its face was stretched, skin sagging off the bone, as though something inside was trying to push out. Its mouth hung open in a wide O, whistling, without lungs, without breath. For short notes, Noah ran. Branches tore at him. Rocks slid beneath his feet. He didn't care. The only thing he knew was that the farther he got from that thing, the better. But no matter how far he ran, the whistle followed, always just behind the trees, always getting closer. He ran until his legs gave out. Collapsed in a thicket of brambles, Noah lay trembling, sweat freezing against his skin. He couldn't hear the whistle anymore. Maybe he'd lost it. Maybe it was never there. But when he opened his eyes, he saw them. The stones, dozens of them, arranged in perfect circles. Not random, not natural. Each had a crude figure carved into it. Long-limbed, mouth agape. The trail he'd stumbled into wasn't a hiking path. It was a warning, or a boundary, and he had crossed it. He crawled from the thicket and realized the forest around him had changed. The light was wrong, sickly, gray-green. The trees no longer bent, they loomed. And on the breeze, like a promise, came the whistle. For notes, closer than ever, desperation took over. He dumped his pack to move faster. Compass? Useless. His GPS? Dead. He picked a direction, any direction, and ran. As dusk fell, the forest came alive, but not with animals. With echoes, whispering, whistling, breathing. Then, through the trees, he saw a clearing. A fire. A figure sitting beside it. Human. He staggered forward, half laughing, half crying. But when the figure looked up, he stopped cold. It was him. Same face. Same clothes. Same gear, except withered. Wrong. Like it had been sitting there for years. The thing smiled, and from its throat, though the mouth never moved, came the whistle. For notes. Perfect. Noah screamed and ran again, but the forest closed in. His flashlight died. His breath came ragged. Behind him, in dozens of voices now all around, whistling. He was no longer lost. He had been taken, and the forest would whistle for someone else tomorrow. Have you ever experienced something that defied logic? Something chilling you just couldn't explain? We want to hear your ghost stories. Share them in the comments below, and let's dive into the unknown together. Your encounter could be featured in a future video. If you're brave enough for more, check out our next video filled with terrifying, real-life horror stories that will keep you up long after the screen fades to black. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss another story that blurs the line between reality and nightmare. The shadows are calling. Will you listen?